The newest episode did not just drop, it erupted. What unfolded on screen felt less like a reality TV moment and more like a volcanic explosion of secrets that the internet simply cannot recover from. Wayne's already tangled love life suddenly transformed into a full-blown emotional crime scene, and the fandom is treating it like a live-streamed disaster. TikTok stitches, Twitter threads, Instagram story rants, everyone is pointing fingers, gasping, speculating, and desperately trying to piece together who betrayed whom first. And trust me, no one was prepared for the level of emotional wreckage that Delicia and Tamara unleashed. It all began in a deceptively calm moment, one of those scenes where you just know something catastrophic is about to be confessed. Delicia quietly pulled Honeypot aside for what she called a private chat, but you could see the camera crew practically sprinting behind her as if they already sensed the storm brewing. And then, she dropped it. She admitted something so shocking, so unexpected, that even the producers probably blinked twice. Delicia revealed that she had made a massive mistake with Wayne, a mistake that was not petty, not impulsive, but deeply personal. The kind of mistake that does not stay hidden, the kind that eventually burns everything in its path. This was not jealousy. This was not rivalry. This was the kind of truth that destroys alliances. With her voice trembling and her eyes already filling with tears, Delicia looked at Honeypot and said, "I should not have let things go that far with Wayne. I never intended to hurt anyone, but I cannot pretend anymore. I have to deal with the consequences." And the way she said it, it was not scripted, it was not performative. The rawness in her voice felt like someone finally collapsing under the weight of their own guilt. It was the kind of moment that sends shockwaves through social media before the episode even ends. And of course, word spread like wildfire. Clips leaked. Fan pages reposted. People started tagging Tamara everywhere, demanding answers, reactions, revenge. It took mere minutes, literally minutes, before Tamara found out, and the internet collectively held its breath, waiting for the inevitable explosion. The moment Delicia stepped into that room, you could practically feel the oxygen evaporate. The tension did not just rise, it skyrocketed, like the entire set had turned into a pressure cooker seconds from exploding. Cameras locked onto Delicia and Tamara as they faced each other, only a few feet apart, standing like two queens preparing for emotional warfare. Their eyes did not blink. Their breaths barely moved. And you could hear viewers all over the world collectively whisper, "This is it." Delicia began carefully, almost trembling, but with a determination that showed she had rehearsed this moment in her mind 1,000 times. "Tamara, I need to be honest with you about everything with Wayne. I made a mistake, and I need you to hear it from me." Her voice cracked at the edges, but she kept going. She had no choice now. The truth was out of its cage. Tamara's reaction? Cold, controlled, devastating. Her arms crossed like she was armoring herself for impact. With a voice sharp enough to cut glass, she replied, "Delicia, I have heard the rumors, but now you are admitting it. After all this time?" The room became so silent it felt dangerous, like the kind of silence that exists right before a bomb goes off. And the cameras drank up every second. Behind the scenes, the confessional cameras caught their private thoughts, unfiltered, trembling, and painfully honest. It gave fans a deeper look into the emotional battlefield beneath the surface. Delicia finally cracked. "I never wanted to come between you and Wayne," she said, voice shaking. I lost control. Seeing him with you made me do things I regret. I need to fix this somehow." She looked shattered, as if she was drowning in a tide of her own guilt. Tamara, in her own confessional, delivered the emotional punch that sent social media into meltdown. "I trusted Wayne. I trusted Delicia, too. And now this? I do not even know where to start. But one thing is certain. I am not letting this slide without answers." This was not petty drama. This was betrayal with consequences. And then came the peak, the point where emotions snapped like overstretched wires. Voices rose. Tears spilled. The room vibrated with so much tension it felt like the walls were listening. Delicia tried one last time. "Tamara, I made a mistake, but this is not about taking him away from you. I need you to understand how I feel." Tamara's response hit like a hammer. "Understand? You think an apology is going to fix this? Wayne is my man, and I am supposed to simply forgive and forget? Do you even understand what you did?" Viewers were glued to their screens. Twitter was a firestorm. Instagram comments flooded. TikTok reactions exploded. One viral comment summed up the national mood: "This is the realest mess of the entire season." Both of them are speaking their truth, and it is brutal. After the emotional collision, both women retreated to their confessionals like wounded soldiers limping off a battlefield. Delicia whispered, "I do not know if she will ever forgive me. But I needed to be honest, even if it hurts." Tamara looked just as broken. "I need time. Wayne is part of this, too. He needs to step in. But right now, I cannot even look at her without feeling destroyed. And social media? It detonated. Clips hit millions of views in hours. Memes, debates, reaction edits, fan theories. Entire timelines were drowning in analysis. Half the viewers applauded Delicia's courage. The other half praised Tamara's strength. Meanwhile, Wayne stood in the shadows of this emotional hurricane, subtle, quiet, but critical. Cameras caught him pacing, whispering to himself, I never wanted it to get this messy, but it is out there now, and I have to handle it. His guilt was obvious. His confusion was even louder. Fans started asking the burning question, is Wayne the villain, the mediator, or the coward? This love triangle has become the most talked about storyline of the season. Nobody knows what Wayne's next move will be. Loyalty? Forgiveness? Or another explosion waiting to happen? Even reality TV bloggers called this the most emotionally devastating showdown of the year. Delicia confronting Tamara was not just another dramatic TV moment. It became a defining emotional earthquake, raw, unfiltered, and painfully human. It pulled back the curtain on love, loyalty, regret, and the consequences of crossing invisible lines. Fans are counting down the minutes until the next episode to see whether this triangle stabilizes, or collapses even deeper into chaos. Because one thing is certain, this confrontation was the kind of reality TV wildfire people will be dissecting for months. Nothing staged. Nothing exaggerated. Pure, human vulnerability combusting on camera. And even after they walked away, the tension did not fade. It clung to the air like smoke. Every accidental glance between them felt like another wound reopening. Every step apart felt like a reminder that they were still trapped in the same storm. And everyone watching could not look away. Each passing second felt like an emotional earthquake. The silence between Delicia and Tamara was not empty, it was dense, saturated with entire unsaid chapters, whole emotional essays that trembled in the air. It was the kind of silence that presses down on a room so heavily that even the walls seemed to hold their breath. Delicia later admitted in her confessional, her voice trembling like she was trying to steady a storm inside her, every time I look at Tamara, I feel the weight of my mistake crushing me. It sits on my chest like something alive, something I cannot shake off. I did not want it to come to this, but once the truth left my mouth, there was no undoing it. Her eyes shimmered with an ache that felt too real for television. She was not trying to manipulate the audience. She was unraveling, thread by fragile thread, forgetting the cameras, forgetting the world, just sinking into the truth she had finally released. And then there was Tamara. If Delicia's guilt was heavy, Tamara's heartbreak was deep enough to drown in. In her confessional, she held herself like someone bracing against an internal collapse. Arms crossed. Shoulders tense. Eyes dark with disbelief. It is hard to process someone confessing something so painful, she said, voice quivering but still trying to stay strong. Wayne is important to both of us. But trust feels like thin glass right now. One more touch, and it will shatter. I never expected this kind of betrayal, not from someone I called a friend. Her face tightened, and for a moment she looked like she was fighting tears with sheer will. Viewers felt that moment like a punch. They saw a woman battling her own heartbreak in real time. Wayne, meanwhile, had become the unwilling gravitational center of this emotional war. He was not just a name in the argument. He was the axis everything was spinning around, too fast, too chaotically. Every hour that passed seemed to push him deeper into the storm. His stress showed in the smallest details, the tapping of his fingers, the slight hunch in his posture, the way he inhaled sharply and exhaled even slower. He looked like a man carrying two fragile hearts in his hands, terrified that one wrong move would destroy everything. Then came the mediation attempt, one of the most tense scenes of the entire season. Wayne sat both women down in the living room, trying to hold the emotional structure together by sheer force of hope. Cameras zoomed in on his clenched hands, his nervous swallow, the flicker of fear behind his eyes. I know this is painful, he said, voice wavering with honesty he could no longer hide, but we need to talk before this becomes something none of us can fix. Fans later replayed the scene online, zooming in frame by frame, analyzing every micro-expression. Even Wayne's barely audible voice crack became a trending topic. The room felt solid with tension, so thick it could almost be touched. Neither Delicia nor Tamara dared to look at each other. Their eyes were glued to the floor, the couch, the wall, any surface that was not carrying emotional history. It was the kind of quiet that happens before life-altering words are spoken. Online reaction was immediate and explosive. Live viewers flooded timelines with chaotic commentary. Some defended Delicia's honesty, arguing that telling the truth, no matter how late, is better than living a lie. Others lined up behind Tamara, insisting that her pain was justified and her anger was righteous. And then there were those who looked at Wayne with sympathy, calling him the most unfortunate man on reality TV, tangled in a triangle he never meant to create. Social media transformed into a digital courtroom, everyone serving as judge, therapist, and investigator. Wayne's struggle showed that telling the truth in love is one thing, but navigating the aftermath is an entirely different battle. This revelation had opened a door, and what poured through it was not just honesty, it was heartbreak, betrayal, and consequences none of them were prepared for. Even the producers confessed off camera that they underestimated how explosive this confession would be. What they expected to be a brief emotional ripple became the emotional epicenter of the entire season. But the night was not done with them. Not even close. Later, when the cast retreated into their separate corners, the emotional shockwaves continued. Delicia sat on her bed, staring at the wall as though watching her own downfall projected onto it. She kept wiping her face in frustration, replaying every word she said. "I just wanted to do the right thing," she whispered, almost too quietly for the mic to catch. "I did not want secrets to destroy us." But secrets already had. All she had done was peel back the curtain. Tamara curled into the corner of the lounge, hugging a pillow as if it were the only trustworthy thing left in the room. She whispered about betrayal, about broken trust, about the fear of losing Wayne, but then she said something even more devastating. "I do not know who Delicia is anymore," she murmured. "Maybe I never really did." That line shattered viewers. Because it was not dramatic. It was not theatrical. It was pure, grieving honesty, mourning not just love, but a friendship she thought was real. Wayne slipped away onto the balcony, staring into the night sky like he was begging the stars for clarity. "I care about both of them," he admitted quietly. "And now I feel like I am the reason they are hurting. I do not know how to fix this." For the first time all season, his confident exterior cracked, revealing the vulnerable man underneath. Producers debated stepping in, worried the emotional weight had become too dangerous. But the cast insisted they needed space, real space, to process what had happened. And so the cameras continued rolling, capturing every shaky breath, every tear, every unspoken feeling trapped beneath the surface. Every sigh carried a story. Every silence carried a wound. Every moment felt like a scene too real for television. As the days unfolded, the house carried an ache that felt almost physical, like the emotional earthquake had cracked the foundation and now everyone was walking carefully across the shards. Every conversation was cautious, trimmed down to the bare minimum. Movements felt rehearsed, stiff, almost robotic. Even breakfast lost its warmth. The clinking of utensils echoed through the dining room like tiny reminders of a friendship fractured. There were no jokes. No playful banter. No lingering smiles. Just a quiet heaviness that made the entire atmosphere feel bruised. Fans noticed instantly. Social media filled with comments saying the house looked dim, emotionally drained, and, like everyone was tiptoeing through a minefield. Yet slowly, almost imperceptibly, small cracks of healing began to appear. One morning, Delicia walked into the kitchen holding 2 cups of tea. Her hands shook slightly, the steam curling around her fingers like nervous breath. She approached Tamara with hesitance so fragile it made viewers hold their breath. Offering the cup was not an apology. It was not even a conversation. It was simply a gesture, a small, trembling bridge extended across a battlefield. Tamara accepted it with hands that mirrored the same tremble. No smile, no warmth, but no rejection either. A silent truce. Across the room, Wayne watched with relief flooding his face, like a man who had finally inhaled after days of suffocating. Throughout the week, little conversations returned, brief nods in the hallway, a shared comment about groceries, a soft laugh that escaped accidentally. Nothing cinematic, nothing dramatic, but meaningful in the quietest way. It was the kind of healing that does not announce itself. It simply appears, soft, cautious, and real. And viewers loved it just as much as the chaos that came before. Because beneath the explosions and confessions, people were connecting to something far more universal, the fragile rebuilding of trust. In the end, the confrontation that set the season on fire did more than expose secrets, it exposed the complicated machinery of forgiveness, the difference between honesty and hurt, and the courage it takes to rebuild what has been shattered. It was not just a TV moment, it was a human moment. And that is why it refused to fade from public conversation. Delicia's honesty struck a chord with many viewers. Some praised her for facing the consequences of her actions head-on, refusing to hide behind excuses or manufactured storylines. In her confessional, voice shaking with raw emotion, she admitted, telling the truth was terrifying. "I knew it might break Tamara. I knew it might break me. But leaving it inside would have been worse. Secrets rot everything from the inside out." Those words echoed across social media, replayed in slow-motion edits, analyzed in commentary videos, debated in long comments and stitched reaction clips. People saw something in her trembling voice, a hint of courage, a flicker of accountability, that peeled back the polished veneer reality TV often hides behind. For some viewers, Delicia represented every mistake they had ever made, every truth they had ever feared releasing. They saw themselves in her embarrassment, her shame, her trembling honesty. They remembered the moments where they had been the villain, the one who messed up, the one who sat alone afterward wondering how much of their world would survive when the truth finally broke free. Her confession became a mirror. But not everyone saw bravery. Some saw strategy. Some saw timing. Some saw a conveniently emotional performance for the cameras. These viewers insisted she only spoke up because the storyline demanded it, because the rumors were circling, because she could feel her back against the wall. They slowed down her expressions frame by frame on TikTok, pointing out the rehearsed quivers, the PR-ready tone, the sudden shift from defensive to sorrowful. And thus, the battle lines were drawn online, hashtag Team Delicia and hashtag Team Tamara. The episode sent shockwaves through the internet. Within minutes of airing, the confrontation scene appeared everywhere, reaction videos with influencers gasping dramatically, slow zooms with horror movie music underneath, freeze frames noting every eye twitch and every shaky breath. Wayne somehow became a separate subplot entirely. Some fans believed he made things better by mediating, others claimed he should have stepped back completely and refused to involve himself in the emotional carnage. Was he the peacemaker? Was he the enabler? Was he the accidental villain of the season? Nobody could agree. The confessionals, however, became the true cultural phenomenon. The tear-filled frames, the shaky breaths, the soft lighting exposing every raw emotion, viewers clipped them, edited them, slowed them down, overanalyzed the shadows in their eyes as though searching for hidden truths. TikTokers reenacted entire scenes with exaggerated dramatics. Video essayists dove into the psychological warfare of heartbreak, betrayal, and emotional accountability. Instagram became flooded with reflective captions about friendship, honesty, and the cost of vulnerability. Some fans posted memes comparing the triangle to legendary love dramas, others wrote thoughtful threads exploring the deeper themes the show accidentally uncovered. And then came Reddit. Within an hour, entire threads formed dedicated to reconstructing the timeline. Users cross-referenced episodes, analyzed micro-expressions, brought up old interviews, and even cited suspicious production cues. Some insisted Delicia deserved grace for admitting the truth. Others argued trust, once shattered, can never return to its original shape. A few wrote multi-page breakdowns exploring loyalty, emotional responsibility, cognitive dissonance, and the ethical boundaries of friendships under pressure. It was no longer just entertainment. It had become a cultural dissection. The confrontation had escaped the screen and entered real-world discourse, haunting group chats, dominating timelines, breaking down friendships between fans who disagreed, and reminding everyone how deeply reality TV can mirror real emotional life. And the most fascinating part? This storyline was nowhere near finished. The emotional gravity of the episode did not just stay within the boundaries of the show, it bled into the real world, pulling in voices far beyond the usual weekly watchers. Psychologists, relationship therapists, communication analysts, entire groups of experts suddenly appeared online with stitched videos, detailed breakdowns, and long-form posts dissecting every tremor in Delicia's voice and every flicker of hurt in Tamara's eyes. These were not casual